Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Servium calling. Welcome to the next in the series of our INOOT webinars. My name is Steve Dawes. I'm your host today, and I'm the Services Director at Servium. So the purpose of our INOOT webinars are to educate, inform you as our customers on up-and-coming technologies and vendors in the marketplace, things that we think can make a massive difference. And today we're working with Lookout around their mobile security proposition. So I'd like to welcome Burak, who's the Lookout Enterprise Sales Engineer. Good morning, Burak. How are you today?
Hi, Steve. Great, thank you. Thanks for inviting us onto this webinar this morning.
You're welcome. So just for the benefit of everyone who's registered early, you should have got your crunchies. So put your feet up, relax, and enjoy the event. You'll be able to ask questions at the end of the webinar as well. Also, we're using Zoom as a platform to deliver it. So we will be recording this webinar and issuing the recording to you. And also it'll be published at a later date on our YouTube channel. So thank you for taking the time out, and hope you'll find the webinar of interest. So 11th of October, what's happened on the 11th of October? Well, 1887, a gentleman called A. Miles painted the elevator, of all things. 1957, Dawn French, the Welsh comedian, TV actress from The Vicar of Dibley, was born in Holyhead in Wales. Quite interestingly, in 1975, the future US president, as he was then, Bill Clinton, aged 29, married US Senator and Secretary of State Hillary Rodham at age 28. It was a Methodist ceremony in their living room. And in 1987, the search ended for the Loch Ness Monster. So again, a huge sonar exploration in Loch Ness, and they weren't able to find Nessie. And in 2000, it was the 100th Space Shuttle mission. For any fans out there of Breaking Bad, then today is the premiere of El Camino. But to us at Servium and our partners Lookout, today is all about INOOT. So for the benefits of some new customers there, let's just talk a little bit about who Servium are, what we're all about. And in essence, we put you, the customer, at the center of everything we do. We are your troubleshooter, we walk in your shoes, and we're there to sort of help you by being agile and being responsive and being very nimble. We love to sort of tackle any business challenge. We give great customer service, but we also have a great differentiator for us, which is our services ecosystem. We'll work with you through the life cycle of projects. So from the strategy, helping you with that, the high level, low level design, working with you to implement, and then provide any post implementation support. It's a very collaborative approach that we take. And then we then review to make sure that at the end, that we've delivered on time, on budget, and within your expectations. So that's sort of the Servium Pathfinder. Our ecosystem, as I mentioned, is all about sort of size, scale, breadth, and depth. You know, there's a lot of resource that you have access to as our customers. We've got the scale to deliver small, medium, large projects. But I think the important thing for me is very much we're very transparent on who we're using, the partners we're working with, like Lookout today, and ultimately we can deliver tremendous value again to you as our customers. There's a tremendous, like I said, capability that we have, and we have already delivered a webinar on our services. So I'd encourage you to go and have a look at that on our YouTube channel and find out some more. So today, it's very much heavily focused on security. It's a very, very topical subject at the moment, and it's something that by partnering with people like Lookout, we think can deliver some really good business solutions that can help you get through the minefield of security. So, without further ado, that's me finished. Burak, the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, Steve. That's a great intro into Servium and your services and solutions. My name is Burak Agca. I'm an enterprise sales engineer at Lookout. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years now. My thanks to the Servium team for inviting us on their webinar today, and thank you guys for joining the webinar and then taking the time out. So, as I say, Lookout today is an iOS and Android security company. We have a laser focus on these two platforms. The key here is around securing these two operating systems today on the devices that we basically walk around with on a daily basis. And as I see around 100 or so customers on an annual basis, our message is pretty consistent and rings true. And that is that we're moving to a world today where we are governed by app-driven services, and wholesale we're seeing enterprise push their data, enterprise data, into the cloud so that mobile devices can get access to these services that we require in the workplace today. And that's a challenge for organizations, coffee shops, airports, shopping centers, all these environments that we walk through on a daily basis. We expect ubiquitous Wi-Fi, and we expect the ability to stay connected with these mobile devices in our hands. And so it's important that we understand that enterprise data is flowing through these access points, and that we don't have control over these inspection points today. And of course, that is, again, of concern to firms out there. Research is showing by the end of next year that at least no less than a third of users will have gone entirely mobile. I myself haven't logged into Windows desktop for some considerable time. I use a MacBook, an iOS phone, and an Android test phone. So with that, I'm wholly mobile with these two platforms today. And with that, as I walk out of the workplace, I then enter my personal life, and that same screen it is then obviously helping me with my personal and my private life. And of course, with that, I demand privacy and freedom from inspection of the content that I'm accessing and that's flowing through this device. And of course, that's a huge challenge for organizations today as they meet with the challenge of mobile device strategies that are introducing corporately owned and personally enabled policies, as well as BYOD today, as we bring our own devices and expect the ability to access data and services. So with that, we describe that your perimeter is disappearing. The investments that you've made on these perimeter appliances and technologies often simply don't understand the traffic coming from an iOS or an Android device. And often in an environment where a BYOD is allowed, you're essentially bringing your own device that isn't being managed by the organization, connecting to perhaps a 4G mast, and then accessing these cloud-based app-driven services. And all of that then is of concern to an organization, because we simply can't trust the devices that are accessing the data today. We haven't applied the same hardened machine model that we have done to the Windows platform to iOS and Android. And so why is it that we have relinquished that governance to these two major companies, and that we trust that they will wholesale get the security model correct? And of course, the bad actors are fully aware of this, fully aware that these are essentially operating systems that are exposed to vulnerabilities that can be exploited, and also that these devices are operating outside the traditional perimeter. And so we need to be assuming in this perimeterless world that a zero trust against iOS and Android, and ensuring that we move at least some of these security services to the endpoint to bring about a measurable amount of risk reduction. And that's borne out in the news. If we take a look over the last couple of years, we'll have seen multiple issues within these mobile apps that we use today. And of course, any company or service of reputation is going to have a mobile application. There's often offers or capabilities within these apps that you simply won't get on the website or by accessing these services directly. And also, they're very efficient in delivering their services or getting product to your door. We also see a number of attacks targeted at specific verticals. For instance, one of our worst kept secrets is Bankomar Stealer, a threat that we've been following for a number of years now, targeted specifically at the banking sector. And this is a trick you can play with Android, whereby essentially, as you load up the banking application, the attacker will push an overlay and then steal the credentials that the user's plumbing in. And of course, that's an issue because we've seen a serious uptick in the number of instances of this particular threat from a couple of thousand a couple of years ago to over 20,000 instances of this as of earlier of this year. So it's important, as we see both Gartner's and also Verizon pointing out, that we need to essentially be providing some kind of mobile threat protection or defense on these devices. And that's what we dub MTD. And today, companies that are sacrificing utilizing any kind of form of threat defense for speed and expediency are half as more likely to meet with a threat than those that aren't actually putting in place a solution. And that's again backed by Gartner's. They're very clear through their market guide for mobile threat defense that they released last year that by next year, pretty much all of organizations out there in enterprise will have put in place something that needs a mobile device. I personally can't work at Lookout without having my Google Authenticator, or in other organizations, it'll be another form of soft token required to get access to services. And that's essentially your second factor of authentication today. But yet only 30% of organizations will have considered and put in place a mobile threat defense solution. So there's a serious issue out there in us addressing this particular problem. Something that our marketing department has done really well is to bring together this mobile risk matrix. And that is to say, we view the issues on mobile very clearly, our product spanning all of these areas that you see, but that against the key attack vectors of the apps, the device, the network, and the web and content that we access through either email, web pages, SMS messages that we get, and moreover applications that we now install that have embedded URLs or click-throughs, that there are components of risk. That's to say that there are the threats that are out there, the software vulnerabilities inherent in managing a mobile device where the carrier and the manufacturer sit between us and an organization, the ability to manage that device, and then perhaps the behavior and configurations of these applications, these free type apps that we install on mobile today. And the way that we provide coverage at Lookout is essentially cloud first, device assisted with our Lookout for Work agent on the endpoint. But Lookout is a security cloud. And over the last decade, through our consumer product, Lookout, that's available freely on the public app and Play stores, we've amassed more than 180 million iOS and Android devices registered and reporting into our security cloud today. And that's got coverage across 170 countries. We call this our sensor network at Lookout, and it provides us with a huge amount of telemetry and the ability to really know the difference between a good operating system and a bad one, and also the ability to track the evolution of mobile threats over time. And with some unique technologies, we've also been able to go out and acquire the binaries on these devices over time, and then obviously provide protection by ingesting, analyzing, and then surfacing the threats that we see in well over 90 million apps that we've uniquely analyzed. We're backed by the world's best security and research team focused on these two platforms. This is actually one of our guys who's always working in the dark, focused on their platforms, discovering new threats, ensuring coverage for the threats that we provide coverage for, providing them through some SKUs that allow our customers to buy into our threat advisory services, vulnerability research, professional services, tool development, targeted monthly threat reports, and the ability to phone into our researchers a number of times a month based on these options that we have to buy into our threat advisory services. And the work that they do is essentially discovering two real world notable mobile threats every month. And as we see the more sophisticated threat actors operating, that intelligence and that code then proliferates and then becomes available in other mobile advanced persistent threats and RATs, as we call it, remote access Trojans. And these severely compromise the security model on these devices and essentially turn them into surveillance devices, the surveillanceware that's installed, often silently, without any knowledge, based on a click of a link or a text message, results in wholesale takeover of your device, which then means any one of the 80 or so artifacts on that phone can be controlled, and data exfiltration can take place off that device. So it's important that we provide coverage as we see this type of behavior in apps proliferate to more commonly used applications and those side-loaded apps that we can get from these third-party resources freely available on the internet today. So Lookout will provide an enterprise solution. It's called Lookout for Work. This will, without any on-premise requirements, allow for our customers to access a console, set protections, create reports, do application analysis, and mitigate risks against these key attack vectors that we've been describing, and then provide for an agent on the endpoint that will both alert and then integrate with your MDM solution and your system security incident and event management solutions, for which we provide connectors and easy integrations today. We have an SDK that allows you to embed our technology into B2C type apps or internal applications you may have, and provide mobile threat protection across these key attack vectors as the user leverages that app. And also the threat intelligence services that we've described with our personal product available from the app stores today. So hopefully that's given you some insight into mobile threat defense. As I say, we have global device coverage, our sensor network of around 180 million mobile devices today, a massive data set, well over 80 million applications analyzed, surfaced in terms of their threats, for which we provide detection and coverage. Our patents speak for themselves and really put us in a unique market leading position here in the mobile threat defense marketplace. So let's take a look at perhaps how Lookout might be able to help as we look at application analysis, often a big challenge in the context of mobile. Hopefully you're able to see my console at this point.
Well, we'll test the technology, Burak. So let me just pause my sharing. You should be able now to hopefully share your dashboard. So do you want to give that a try?
Sure.
There we go. Yep, can see that. That's great.
Brilliant. So hopefully my Lookout endpoint management console will pop up now, and you guys can see first and foremost our global data visibility dashboard showing our sensor network in terms of our global coverage and the number of uniquely analyzed apps. And we show trending across mobile threat defense issues, as well as an at risk and analysis section. So not only do you get to see all of the applications in your fleet and do analysis and provide protection against those applications, but also globally as well, which will give you some answers in terms of our application corpus and some of the information that we feed back. And you can instantly generate reports out of here. But let's take this tenant. This particular tenant has in the region of around 950 mobile devices registered with the service. And that's going to yield an application stack of around 2,500 apps on average. And of course, that's a huge challenge for organizations. If I were to ask the question, you know, what is our position in terms of GDPR by using these mobile apps? That's going to be a really tough question to ask in a corporate context. So things that we can do here, maybe to set up very simple policies that allow us to go ahead and ask the question of the information that we have. Show me, for instance, all applications in this data set that not only access the address book data and artifacts on that phone, but also those that can transfer the address book. And I think we'd all agree that that's going to be an issue under any circumstances where we've got sensitive business data on the phone, or where we have compliance or regulatory requirements around data governance. So we can very quickly set up a policy like that, take a look at our apps and we've taken our 90 million stack of applications and we've indexed it and provide filters for our customers to then very quickly and simply ask those meaningful questions of the data set. Show me applications that have malware, which we've categorized. Perhaps you want to find out which cloud services these applications are able to connect to. So we've done many filters, but we can take that custom policy that we wrote just a moment ago and click on it, and it will go ahead and then bring back a result based on the forensics that we've done. And we'll see that essentially that there's a far fewer number of applications that we've got to analyze in the context of this policy. And in this case, we see just 26 apps here of concern. And then we could begin to drill down and take a look at why perhaps we might want to understand better the behavior of this application. We can see this app's from the Apple App Store. It's from a good known source. Its certificates in place. We'll provide a risk summary around that application. And then we'll see where the policies that we've created apply and call out this app as being of issue. Take a look uniquely at the transport security of this app, drill down to show those domains and the storage security that's been employed. But here we have an application that's not only accessing my contacts, but it's also transferring those, and potentially that's going to be a big problem if I've got sensitive information held in my address book. We'll see the URI schema and the handling of this application inter-app. But here we might have issues around the fact that we see behavior within these apps that are less than desirable in the corporate context, and then get a better idea as to the communications capabilities of some of these very common applications that we sanction on users' phones today. We'll call out whether or not it aligns with OWASP as well, and any cloud services that are in use too. So a really useful way of analyzing, getting the data forensics on an application as we've run these apps through our static and dynamic analysis engines, and then provide the capability for organizations to blacklist these apps or save the information off so that they can give that, put that in the hands of those that are interested into why we might or might not want to sanction this app for corporate use. We then integrate with all of the common MDM and EMM platforms out there today. And by doing that, you can then immediately apply a policy to the device where any of our protections apply in the event that device meets with an incident. So hopefully that's been a very quick and easy way to see our app protection. Steve, I hope that's been a good overview.
Yeah, that's really good. Burak. I think we're only scratching the surface there, really, on what we can do, and there's a lot of information in the dashboard. I know, we've deployed Lookout ourselves, and I've seen some of the sort of information that comes out on the dashboard. And it's quite interesting that when it does highlight vulnerabilities that you just weren't aware of. So it is scratching the surface, but from the point of view of next steps for everyone, we are going to be offering a 30-day free of charge proof of concept. But I think so. Thanks for that, Burak. That was really good. Let's go to some questions then that we've got on the floor, and we'll answer these. If you have any further questions, then all you need to do is drop me an email or get in touch with the account manager. So some questions here for you, Burak. I think from Jamie, do you need to install anything onto each individual device as part of the implementation?
Yes, so we have a piece of software available on the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store called Lookout for Work. And what we've done is completed integrations with each of the MDM vendors so that you can create an application deployment policy. And what that will do is essentially suppress a lot of the clicks that a user has to go through to install our product. And in fact, with some of the MDMs today on Android, we can make that a zero-click exercise and a single click in the case of iOS. So really making it very simple for users to onboard with the service.
Okay, that's good. So question from Russ in relation to how is the product licensed?
It's licensed as either a device or user based model. We don't mix and match, but certainly you can take a device based approach, or with the user based approach, you can have a number of devices based on that one user license.
Another question from Steph in relation to anything that's been identified as untrustworthy. What sort of guidance and help is there for the end user when they get that sort of alert?
Right, yeah, good question. So we have the option against each of our out-of-the-box protections to either alert the user or not to. Sometimes customers choose to alert users based on their MDM customized messaging, or it may be that the threat is such either low risk or very high risk that you don't want to specifically call out to the user and carry out administrative functions first and analysis before alerting the user or calling back a device. So we've got lots of options in terms of the alerting. The alerting from a Lookout perspective is very clear. So being that we provide for the unmanaged use case where a device isn't managed by an MDM, we see 95% remediation rates based on the messaging that we provide to the user, guiding them to where they need to go to remediate the problem.
Okay, that's good. Thanks for that. And then a question here from Karen in relation to the end user, the people with the iOS and the Android devices. So, what about specific training? What they need, Burak, from the point of view of the end users? How do we help them? How do you help them with from a training and end user awareness point of view?
Yeah, that's a really important point when you're deploying anything new out to your fleet. There is a growing awareness around need for what is essentially seen as an antivirus product for your endpoint today, but effectively that's you need to pivot, and mobile threat defense actually covers, as we've seen today, 3 or 4 key attack vectors on the mobile phone. So what we've done is made sure that within the product, i.e. on the client side in Lookout for Work, as the user onboards, there's lots of user education and lots of information points that we've built in based upon our good knowledge of how to deploy and be successful with a consumer product. We brought a lot of that knowledge into the enterprise, and we let the user know exactly what kind of data we're collecting. We assure the user that their privacy is not in question. Everything at Lookout is privacy by design. So we ensure that in certain cases we don't even need a user's email address in order to onboard users, based on integrations with MDMs out there. So we take as little information as possible and provide as much info back in terms of user education, as well as helping organizations with end user documentation. And our support site is really well documented in terms of enrolling users and helping them with screenshots and end user information too.
Okay, brilliant. That's great. I think that's all the questions, Burak. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch the poll. We always appreciate feedback from you, our customers, on these webinars, so that we can always tweak and improve them as we go along. But also, if you are interested in the 30-day trial, then please highlight that in the poll as well, and then we'll work with Lookout to arrange the proof of concept. So. That's it, really, Burak. Thank you very much for taking the time out today. Really appreciate your help on that. So thank you very much. I know we're only scratching the surface, as I said. So anyone else anyone is interested, we can also do deep dives and so on and so forth. So just to remind everyone that the next webinar we've got is Friday, the 25th of October, which is all around Microsoft and Office 365 versus Microsoft 365. A lot of confusion around licensing and so on and so forth. So we've got the webinar on the 25th. So thank you everyone who's completing the poll. We will be sending around a link to this webinar, and also we will be publishing it on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, share the content with your colleagues as well. So without further ado, thank you everyone for joining today, and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you very much.